My phone vibrated so hard it skidded across the marble counter and slammed into the sink. I didn't reach for it. I stood barefoot in the kitchen, staring out at the ocean through floor-to-ceiling glass. The house was quiet in that expensive, insulated way, no echoes, no neighbors. No sense that anyone else existed. A salty breeze slipped in through a cracked door and brushed against my ankles like something alive. Somewhere behind me, ice cracked in a glass. Somewhere else, my phone kept screaming. "You stole from us. Explain yourself. Call me now." The messages piled up, the screen dimming and lighting back up, as if it refused to let me forget. Then the tone shifted. "Wait, how did you afford that? Where did the money come from?" My chest didn't tighten, it eased. That's when I knew they were scared. Fear doesn't always show up as yelling. Sometimes it arrives as curiosity sharpened into suspicion, a sudden concern for details that never mattered before. They weren't furious yet. They were recalculating, trying to figure out where I stood now. They had misjudged me for years. They forgot my birthday every single year, not accidentally, not carelessly, but deliberately. My brother's birthday landed 3 weeks before mine, close enough that forgetting felt intentional, far enough that it could always be excused. 3 weeks of planning, tastings, custom cakes, rented venues scented with lilies and money, champagne glasses clinking while I stood by the wall, holding my drink like an accessory someone forgot to put away. They called it tradition. They called it family. On my birthday, the house went quiet. No cake, no candles. Sometimes a text the next day. Sometimes nothing. My mother would tilt her head weeks later, confused, like I'd mentioned a distant relative. "Oh, was it yesterday?" My father never looked up from his phone. My brother noticed. He always did. He just smiled and kept opening presents. As a kid, I told myself it didn't matter. Birthdays were for people who needed proof they existed. I learned how to make myself small. How to fold my wants into tidy corners so no one tripped over them. I learned to clap loud for other people's milestones, laugh at jokes that stung, swallow disappointment without a sound. Last year was the worst. They threw him a party so big it spilled into the street. A string quartet in the foyer. Valet parking. A speech my father practiced for days like he was preparing for trial. Strangers hugged me like we were close, like my last name gave them permission. I stayed in the kitchen, refilling drinks. I'd gotten very good at staying busy. Someone asked whose birthday it was. "Mine too," I said quietly. Not an announcement, just the truth. My brother heard me. He laughed loudly. "You always do this," he said, shaking his head. Trying to steal the spotlight, my mother jumped in on cue. "Don't be dramatic." I watched my reflection ripple in the stainless steel fridge, my shoulders pulled inward, my mouth closing before I even thought about it. Muscle memory. I looked like someone else. Someone practiced. After everyone left, I found the remains of my brother's cake in the trash, half-eaten, perfect. White frosting still untouched on one side, like it had been spared on purpose. My birthday passed at midnight. No one noticed. Something inside me hardened, and not loudly, but cleanly, like metal cooling into shape. I didn't confront them. I didn't cry. I didn't ask for fairness or acknowledgement or love disguised as obligation. I went quiet. And silence makes people careless. I worked longer hours. I stopped showing up to family dinners. When they asked why, I smiled and said I was tired. When my brother joked about my obsession with money, I nodded and let him believe whatever story made him comfortable. They never asked how much I earned. They assumed they already knew. They didn't know about the bonus, the acquisition payout, the clause in my contract that rewarded discretion instead of visibility. They didn't know because they'd never really looked at me, only at the version of me they decided existed. I let them think I was still behind, still chasing, still the background character, orbiting their success like a moon. While they argued about flower arrangements for another party, I signed paperwork. While they forgot my birthday again, I wired funds. I closed on a house oceanfront, quiet mine. I walked through it alone the first time. Bare walls. Empty rooms. My footsteps echoing back at me unclaimed. In the bedroom, I watched sunlight move slowly across the floor unhurried, like it didn't need to impress anyone. I waited, timing matters. I posted the photos the morning after my birthday. Sunlight on glass. Coffee on the deck. The ocean stretched out like a promise that didn't need witnesses. A caption with a date. Grateful. The comments came fast. Must be nice. Did you win the lottery? Is this a rental? Then my mother commented, "This isn't funny. Call me." My brother followed seconds later. "You're really doing this?" I finally answered the phone. "You embarrassed us." My father said, no greeting, no question. I smiled at the ocean. "You forgot my birthday." "That's not, you forgot," I said again. Silence pulled tight across the line, thick and unfamiliar. They weren't used to me naming things. My brother broke it. "Where did you get the money?" I let the silence stretch. Use carefully, silence is a weapon they never taught me, but I learned anyway. Then I told them only what I had to. The bonus. The account. The fact that my name was the only one on the deed. My mother's voice cracked. You should have told us. I laughed softly, controlled, final. The kind of laugh you use when you're done explaining yourself. You never laughed. They unraveled fast after that. Accusations turned inward. My brother demanded answers. My parents demanded access, financial, emotional, historical. They wanted reassurance, control, proof that I still belonged to the version of the family where they were central, and I was peripheral. I gave them nothing. They showed up unannounced a week later. I didn't open the door. I watched from the balcony as security escorted them away, my brother shouting, my mother crying, my father furious at everyone but himself. The glass didn't shake. The house held. The calls slowed. The messages stopped. At the next family gathering, his birthday, of course I wasn't invited. I heard later the party was smaller, quieter, awkward. People asked where I was. No one had a good answer. My absence spoke louder than any confrontation I'd ever imagined. I didn't buy the house to punish them. I bought it to remember myself. I wake up to the ocean now. I drink my coffee slowly. I mark my birthday with intention and quiet. Sometimes I light a candle. Sometimes I don't. Either way, I'm there for it. I don't wait for recognition that never comes. They taught me something valuable. Even if they never meant to, love that has to be begged for isn't love. And revenge doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes it looks like peace, fully owned, free of guilt, and finally, not shared.